Russian man like inside the dark, call me Bill Snatcher. Just the brother for the rapture. I hang live, holding on strong, hard to capture. Extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a garden and start killing. It's manifesting. The God's work like appliances, dealing in my sight like a lot.
What's going on, guys? So today I want to make a bit of a follow-up video to the Boruto anime episode that just aired. Now, originally I was going to say this for a video essay, but the level of back and forth I've seen people have over the scene where Naruto's holding Boruto and has what appears to be a panic attack is getting out of hand, in my opinion, enough so that I want to weigh in on this now. Instead of doing a full-blown video essay, I'll touch on this on a Naruto Hokage video that I'm going to have coming out later on in the year. Now, getting right into this, Naruto's emotions with Boruto as he's having the panic attack are justified, in my opinion. They're very justified. So when I said in the review that Naruto's looking down in his hand and coming to the realization that he might one day have to use that hand against his son if Momoshiki takes over, it seems the parallel that I made to Naruto's struggle as Hokage and as a father throughout the entire series, and comparing that struggle to how Minato and Hashirama were able to instantaneously choose village first over friendship, village first over their child. It went over a lot of people's heads, in my opinion. So the whole point of that narrative that I made was to highlight that Naruto's built differently than those two. That's the whole point of his character in the Boruto era. He's broken the mold of what a Hokage is. Decisions that other Hokages would have made and made without any hesitation, Naruto can't do it, and it makes sense. Naruto's mind state right now is very fragile, and it makes the payoff for Boruto getting those chakra pills feel very earned. Naruto's back is against the wall. Everyone's telling him he's got to kill his son. His Kage peers, his best friend, basically said that he will kill Boruto if Naruto can't bring himself to do it, and Naruto's looking down at his hand, and that's what makes him have the panic attack, because his heart is at odds with what the reality says he should do as a Hokage. Is one life more valuable than the lives of many? The reason why this trope works so well in literature and has always worked well in literature for centuries is that people respond to it in different ways. We're seeing that with Naruto right here. His duty as Hokage is fighting his duty as a father, which has always been the struggle for Naruto as a character in part 1 of Boruto, which is the part of the story that Boruto says is the story of he and his father, which segues into just being Boruto's story. Now let's go even deeper right here, because the situation warrants it, in my opinion. Naruto wasn't just gonna form a Rasengan and slam it into Boruto's back. If you think that, you're missing the emotional weight of the scene and the narrative intent of having Naruto speak to Boruto on the Hokage monument while the sun is setting. It was meant to be a representation of Naruto's heart in that moment, the conflicting sides of his soul. On one side, you have the Hokage position where the expectation is for him to choose the village over his child, the same way that his own father chose village over his child as well. However, what I've seen nobody talk about during all this back and forth discourse is the fact that the sunset was used to show Naruto's heart. In literature, a writer uses the sunset as a way to symbolize love and beauty. This was shown during the scene specifically to show Naruto's love for his son outweighs his duty as Hokage, and the beauty of Naruto's soul being that even as a 33-year-old adult who should be hardened to the world, he still refuses to believe that there isn't another way, that there isn't another option. It's the beauty of Naruto still having that childlike innocence in a way. And before somebody says you're just thinking too big brain and they don't really think that far in advance, you haven't paid attention to Naruto as a series if you say that. Having deep understanding of symbolism, and in particular having deep understanding of Buddhism and Asian mythology, Masashi Kishimoto uses a lot of that information in order to foreshadow stuff like Itachi being foreshadowed as actually being good. And I talked about this in the past. It's because Sasuke's Kirin Jutsu was named after Quillin. Quillin used to pass judgment on the wicked. Sasuke named Kirin after that. He uses it on Itachi and Itachi survives, and that foreshadowed the twist that was coming around chapter 400, which is Itachi was secretly a good guy. So taking this a step further, in The Outsiders, you can make the argument that in that story, sunsets were used to show the goodness of the world, and I'm going to use that interpretation to apply it here to Naruto as well. Naruto's entire world is his son. You have to remember, this is somebody who was alone for a long time and didn't have a blood family. Naruto now has that blood family. He's choosing to believe that despite his son being 80% Otsutsuki, he's still Boruto at his core. Even though genetically Boruto's only 20% Boruto, he still believes that Boruto is still Boruto, which means that he's still worth fighting for. That's exactly why I said during the review, and I went out of my way to stress this. As a parent or a godparent, your instinct is to protect the child. If anything were to happen to my godchild, if anything they needed anything, I'd be there in a heartbeat, regardless as to what was needed, because when you're responsible for a life like that, part of you still sees them as that small infant that you held in your arms and you put a bottle to their lips. You take that responsibility to protect them very seriously. You want to protect them from the world as much as you can, even though you know it's impossible. You're going to find a way to do the impossible. You want to ensure that they have every chance to grow into that bright soul that you hope one day will have a huge impact on the world. And huge is something that could be as small as they grow up to be a teacher and they impact other lives, or they just be a decent human being. You want to give them that opportunity. So let's go even deeper right here. So look at Naruto's feelings in this moment. He's already said that he will give his own life for Boruto, which as a godparent, I understand. He isn't able to kill his son or even give someone the green light to kill his son. The thought of having to do so makes that decision so soon after losing Kurama too so heartbreaking. And we clearly see that Naruto has not dealt with this at all, which only adds to Naruto's mental state. It adds to the beauty of the scene as well. He knows that if Momoshiki resurrects, he won't be able to put a stop to him. He doesn't have the power that he once had. However, Naruto, even if he had that power, he wouldn't be able to kill his son. He can't agree with letting someone kill his son either. That's why he snaps on Sasuke at the rooftop and basically says, "You, me, final valley right now. I'm going to show you what happened the first time we fought." In that moment, Naruto as the Hokage was at war with Naruto as the parent, which is why we see him looking out at the village several times throughout this episode. This is the strongest internal conflict we've ever seen Naruto wrestle with at any point in the Naruto franchise. It adds a layer to his character that we have not seen before. The idea that he will likely die trying to save Boruto. The idea that so many are saying the death of his child is a certainty, that his decision can cost him not just his family, but also his village, maybe even the entire world. But despite all of this, he's still choosing his son. It's selfish. It's very selfish, but it's also the highest form of love. And as human beings, we're all selfish down to our own core. Naruto's hyperventilating and he's having the panic attack because he knows what the likely outcome is. Katasuke says that it could be as soon as only a few weeks. Sasuke has said that he will cut down Boruto. The idea that his best friend would kill his firstborn child, a child who Naruto raised and who looks up to Sasuke as a mentor, it's ripping Naruto apart. The friend that Naruto went to hell and back for in order to save from the darkness was about to repay everything that Naruto did for him by killing his child. While it was for the greater good, and Sasuke, in the eyes of so many people, is justified in his line of thinking, it was still a gut-wrenching reality that Naruto was faced with, and Naruto was struggling with that reality. This also is the first time that we see Naruto where he's only by himself. There are no kages on video calls suggesting that Boruto dies. There's no Sasuke nearby. The same kages and the same Sasuke who, while they are part of this new generation, are still very much byproducts of the old way of thinking. Notice that it was Gaara, of all people, who made the suggestion that Naruto has to kill Boruto. Gaara's own father chose the village over his child at one point. Gaara understands it, and this is consistent with Gaara's character. This idea that Gaara has all of a sudden been retconned and it's not true to his character. If you're saying that, you did not pay attention to Gaara at any point in the series. Gaara warned Naruto during the 5 Kage summit. He had to choose the village over Sasuke, and now he's warning Naruto to do the same thing with Boruto, and just like with Sasuke, it's causing a conflict in Naruto. Whereas Gaara is able to see the bigger picture, Naruto's love for Sasuke and his love for Boruto both times made Naruto basically say, I cannot, under any circumstances, agree with that. If that's what it means to be Kage, I can't do this. But I will find a way to avoid what you say is impossible. The boy who made a life of doing the impossible has to do it yet again, and this time the stakes are even higher personally for Naruto. And in this moment, Naruto knows there's a very real chance that he might fail. During that moment, Naruto let out everything, but it was only after his child fell asleep. The fact that Boruto felt comfortable enough to go to sleep while in Naruto's arms is absolutely huge. Naruto did not miss this as a fact, but it's also in this moment where Naruto had his breakdown because it was the only time he could safely do so. Again, as a godparent, I've never broken down in front of my godchild. If I have kids one day, I also won't do that. They look to you for strength, especially when they're scared. And Boruto was so scared he couldn't go to sleep. Not until his father was holding him. Naruto knew all of that and it broke him. This wasn't a chakra illness. If they were going to do something like that, it would have been brought up during the hospital scene, and it's not too crazy of a plot twist or a plot tweak to make it a side effect of Naruto losing Kurama. Simply put, this was a father having an emotional breakdown and it was justified. If you're saying otherwise, you're heartless. However, I want to know from you guys, the rant's over with, so I just want to know from you guys, where does this scene rank for you in terms of the most emotional scenes in the Naruto franchise? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.